Hello, I'm Hope Logan. I am an actor on Bold and the Beautiful, and many people really love both me and our Bold and the Beautiful drama. So I've come here to share updates about my beloved Bold and the Beautiful. Everyone, please subscribe and support me. If you do, I will keep coming every day with new updates for you. The atmosphere inside Forrester Creations was already charged with pressure and anticipation as the company prepared for the massive couture fashion show that everyone believed could redefine the future of the brand. Every hallway buzzed with urgency, every office carried the weight of expectation, and every employee could feel that the coming days would change everything. In the middle of that chaos, Melissa Dillon suddenly found herself standing at the edge of an unexpected turning point when she learned that her professional world was about to shift beneath her feet. Having worked closely as Daphne Rose Walton's assistant, Dillon had grown comfortable in her role, but the growing demands surrounding the couture comeback meant the company needed every available hand in motion. The pressure surrounding Eric Forrester's grand return to fashion had reached enormous levels, and no one could afford hesitation anymore. That urgency opened the door for R.J. Forrester to step in with a surprising proposal, one that would quietly begin reshaping Dillon's place within the company. R.J. may decide that he needs Dillon working beside him directly, pulling her away from her previous responsibilities and into his own orbit. And while the change may seem practical on the surface, the emotional undertones are impossible to ignore. As they begin working side by side under the intense pressure of the fashion show preparations, the long hours, creative tension, and constant collaboration could slowly deepen the connection growing between them, creating the kind of emotional bond that neither of them fully expected. But while new possibilities quietly begin forming in one corner of Forrester Creations, another confrontation threatens to reopen wounds that never truly healed. Hope Logan Spencer remains visibly shaken by Steffy Forrester Finnegan's sudden insistence that her leave of absence should end immediately, especially after everything that has happened between them. Steffy stands firm in her decision, determined to revive hope for the future and push the brand forward once again, believing the time has finally come to move beyond the past. Yet for Hope, things are nowhere near that simple. The resentment, the betrayals, the emotional scars left behind by months of conflict still linger heavily in her heart, and Steffy's attempt to suddenly move forward feels less like healing and more like pretending the damage never existed. The tension between the two women grows sharper with every passing second as Hope refuses to simply smile and accept Steffy's plans. When Hope quietly admits that she has something important to tell Steffy, the atmosphere instantly changes, thickening with suspense and uncertainty as viewers are left waiting to hear what truth she's preparing to reveal. Still, Hope isn't ready to expose everything just yet. Although she's secretly building a new chapter through her line at Logan, she won't reveal that explosive truth now. Instead, she appears ready to fight for more time, insisting that hope for the future cannot simply be rushed back into existence after being left dormant for so long. Hope may argue that fashion trends have changed dramatically during the brand's absence, and that relaunching too quickly could destroy everything they're trying to rebuild. Beneath her calm reasoning, however, lies something deeper: fear, hesitation, and perhaps even a quiet desire to create distance from Steffy's control altogether. She may point to the massive financial investment already poured into Eric Forrester's couture revival and question whether enough resources remain available for her own line to truly succeed. Every word Hope speaks seems carefully chosen, layered with hidden meaning and emotional restraint, as though she's desperately trying to slow down a future she no longer feels certain about. She may even use Beth Spencer as part of her explanation, claiming she needs additional time away to focus on family and summer responsibilities, but beneath that excuse lies a far more complicated emotional battle that continues tearing at her from within. At the same time, the possibility of Hope walking away from Forrester Creations altogether begins hovering in the air like an approaching storm. Though she may not quit immediately, the idea feels increasingly inevitable as tensions continue building around her. Yet, despite the growing cracks forming beneath the surface, Brooke Logan Forrester still remains hopeful about her daughter's future within the company, clinging tightly to the belief that Hope's place at Forrester can still be saved. That optimism creates an emotional contrast against Hope's visible uncertainty, making the situation feel even more fragile. No matter how the conversation unfolds, one thing becomes painfully clear. Hope's hesitation is once again reigniting Steffi's suspicions. Steffi can sense that something isn't being said, something hidden beneath Hope's carefully measured words, and that growing instinct threatens to unravel everything all over again. As mistrust quietly resurfaces between them, the fragile peace they attempted to rebuild begins cracking apart before it ever truly had the chance to heal. Meanwhile, across town, another emotionally explosive situation begins unfolding the moment Sheila Carter walks into Taylor Hayes' office and discovers Deacon Sharp standing there beside her. The sight immediately sends shockwaves through the room. Sheila's eyes burn with fury as she stares at the growing connection between Deacon and Taylor, and for a brief moment, the raw jealousy written across her face becomes impossible to hide. The atmosphere turns suffocating almost instantly, thick with tension, resentment, and dangerous unpredictability. Yet Sheila is nothing if not calculating, and almost as quickly as the anger flashes across her face, she appears ready to bury it beneath a carefully crafted performance. A smile may soon replace her glare as she pretends to support Deacon's new relationship, presenting herself as calm, understanding, and willing to step aside gracefully. But beneath that performance lies the same dangerous obsession that has always driven her actions, and the people around her may be far too distracted to recognize the threat growing right in front of them. In reality, Sheila has absolutely no intention of surrendering Deacon to Taylor. Deep inside, she still believes Deacon belongs beside her, and every instinct within her pushes toward reclaiming the life she thinks was stolen away. Her visit to Taylor's office is not about closure or acceptance. It is the beginning of a new strategy. Sheila understands that open hostility would only push Deacon further away, so instead she chooses manipulation, masking her true intentions behind fake support and carefully controlled emotions. By pretending to back off, Sheila hopes to lull both Taylor and Deacon into a dangerous false sense of security, giving them the illusion that the threat has finally passed. But while they begin lowering their guard, Sheila may already be setting twisted plans into motion behind the scenes, quietly preparing to destroy the relationship standing in her way. And as the emotional tension surrounding all these lives continues tightening like a noose, the future of every relationship involved begins hanging by the thinnest possible thread, with betrayal, heartbreak, and devastating consequences waiting just around the corner. As the pressure surrounding the couture event continued building inside Forrester Creations, the emotional fractures between Hope and Steffi only deepened beneath the polished surface of professionalism. Every conversation between them carried an undercurrent of distrust that neither woman could fully hide anymore. Steffi remained determined to move the company forward at full speed, convinced that reviving hope for the future would signal strength, unity, and a fresh beginning for the brand. But to Hope, Steffi's urgency felt unsettling, almost strategic, as though she were trying to regain control before anyone could question her motives. The tension between them became impossible to ignore as their carefully restrained emotions slowly bled into every exchange, turning ordinary business discussions into silent, emotional battlegrounds. Hope's hesitation was no longer just about fashion schedules or funding concerns. It was becoming deeply personal. She carried the weight of everything that had happened between them, every betrayal, every humiliation, every painful reminder of how quickly loyalty inside the Forrester world could disappear. And while she tried to maintain composure, there was an unmistakable sadness in her eyes, the look of someone standing at the edge of a life-changing decision while desperately trying not to let the people around her notice. At the same time, RJ and Dylan's growing connection quietly offered a softer emotional contrast to the chaos unfolding elsewhere in the company. Long hours spent preparing for the couture launch slowly pulled them closer together, creating moments of calm in the middle of the constant corporate storm. What began as a simple reassignment gradually evolved into something far more meaningful as Dylan found herself opening up around RJ in ways she hadn't expected. There was an ease between them that felt genuine, untouched by the manipulation and emotional games dominating so many other relationships around them. RJ, who often carried the pressure of living up to the Forrester legacy, seemed to find comfort in Dylan's grounded presence, while Dylan found herself drawn toward the warmth and sincerity he rarely showed the rest of the world. Their conversations became longer, their smiles lingered a little more naturally, and amid the relentless pressure surrounding the fashion show, they began creating small moments of peace together. In a world where trust constantly seemed to shatter without warning, their growing bond felt refreshingly real. Yet even those tender moments carried uncertainty because inside the Forrester universe, happiness rarely arrives without complications waiting close behind. Meanwhile, Hope's internal conflict continued intensifying as the reality of her secret plans weighed heavier on her conscience. She knew that the longer she delayed telling the truth, the more explosive the fallout would eventually become. Every excuse she offered Steffy bought her more time, but it also strengthened Steffi's suspicions that something far bigger was happening beneath the surface. Hope could feel it in the way Steffy watched her now, cautious, calculating, searching for cracks in her carefully controlled explanations. And despite trying to remain calm, Hope herself was beginning to feel emotionally exhausted from carrying so much uncertainty alone. Her secret partnership with Logan represented freedom, independence, and the chance to finally build something away from Steffi's shadow. But pursuing that dream also meant risking everything she had ever known. It meant potentially destroying her future at Forrester, disappointing Brooke, and opening the door to another devastating war between the families. The emotional burden became almost unbearable as Hope found herself torn between ambition and loyalty, between protecting her future and preserving the fragile relationships still left in her life. Every passing moment brought her closer to a truth that could change everything forever. Elsewhere, Sheila's dangerous calmness became far more unsettling than her anger ever could have been. After the initial shock of seeing Taylor and Deacon together, Sheila quickly shifted into the role she played best, the patient manipulator who hides chaos beneath a controlled smile. Taylor and Deacon may initially feel relieved seeing Sheila appear composed, believing perhaps that she has finally accepted reality and decided to move on peacefully. But Sheila's eyes tell a very different story. Beneath her carefully measured words still burns the obsession that has defined so much of her life, and every second she spends pretending to support their relationship only makes her more dangerous. Sheila knows exactly how to weaponize patience. She understands that the most devastating attacks are often the ones no one sees coming until it is already too late. And while Taylor may trust her instincts as a psychiatrist, even she may underestimate just how deeply Sheila's jealousy and desperation are capable of driving her. The atmosphere surrounding Sheila grows darker with every calculated smile, creating the terrifying feeling that something catastrophic may already be quietly unfolding behind closed doors. Deacon, caught between his complicated history with Sheila and his growing connection with Taylor, remains dangerously unaware of how fragile the situation truly is. Part of him wants to believe Sheila can change, that perhaps somewhere beneath her destructive behavior, there still exists the woman he once cared for deeply. But another part of him understands that Sheila has never handled rejection well, especially when love and obsession become intertwined. That emotional conflict leaves Deacon vulnerable, unable to fully recognize the storm gathering around him until it may already be impossible to stop. Taylor, meanwhile, may believe her calm and rational approach can keep the situation under control, but Sheila thrives in emotional chaos, and that gives her an unpredictable advantage. As emotions continue tightening around all three of them, Every interaction begins feeling layered with hidden danger and unspoken threats. The smallest spark could ignite a devastating chain reaction capable of destroying lives, relationships, and trust all over again. And as all these emotional storylines begin colliding at once, the world of the bold and the beautiful moves toward another explosive turning point where secrets, ambition, love, and manipulation threaten to consume everyone involved. Hope stands dangerously close to revealing a truth that could permanently damage her relationship with Steffy and change her future forever. RJ and Dylan continue drifting closer together, offering a rare glimpse of sincerity and hope inside a world built on betrayal. Sheila quietly prepares for whatever twisted plan she believes will bring Deacon back into her life, while Taylor unknowingly stands directly in the path of that obsession. Every character is moving toward a crossroads they may never fully recover from, and with emotions running higher than ever, the coming days promise heartbreak, confrontations, and life-altering decisions that will leave nothing untouched. In true Bold and the Beautiful fashion, the calm before the storm is never truly calm at all. It is simply the moment right before everything explodes.